On your Friday episode of Locked On Raptors, the Raptors are ethical again!
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Friday, March the 21st, and I'm your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Toronto Raptors now for 11 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work over on Blue Sky. You can also find the show on Instagram, and you can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server. Great little listener community we got building. Join us. The link in the description of the podcast. Of course, you can subscribe for free as well to the daily Locked On Raptors newsletter 5 days a week. Original words from me writing about your local basketball team and other stuff that tickles my fancy around the NBA. Of course, you also get Josh Lloyd fantasy tips. Very handy right now as it's fantasy playoffs time in the fantasy basketball world. Katie Heindel, League at Large 4 times a week. Michael Shearer, basketball poetry every Thursday. And it's all 100% free. Go subscribe, damn it. And today's show, it's brought to you by friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Go check them out. All right, on today's show, talking about the Raptors getting ethical again, baby. A 117-114 hard-fought competitive loss to the Golden State Warriors, in which the Toronto Raptors did not bench their most important players during crunch time of a close game. It was kind of rad. We will get into that. We're going to talk about Scottie Barnes, who had himself kind of the blueprint game for what Scottie Barnes in year 5 should be looking like. We'll also get to the good, the bad, and the to round things out. But let's get into the ethical loss. They're back in the ethical loss column, baby. And this was a fun game. Made it worth staying up for, no doubt. By the way, the move for these late night Raptors games, which isn't really a problem anymore because I think they're done on the Pacific time for the rest of the season. But boy, oh boy, watching March Madness until like 11:30, then just fast forwarding through commercials and free throws. Perfect solution to the many, many basketballs that there were to watch last night. Either way, did not feel any kind of way about staying up late to watch the Toronto Raptors last night. This was a fun game. Again, I was a little worried. You know, you get into the fourth quarter, around the 8-minute mark, the Raptors go and bring in the bench crew, and you're kind of sitting there going, are they really going to do this again in a game where there's been some really nice stuff from Scottie Barnes, Immanuel Quickley-Jakob Poeltl? Are they really going to hold these guys out against a team in the Warriors that, in all likelihood, they'll probably lose to anyway? Even though there was no Steph Curry down the stretch, that's still a very deep team. Jimmy Butler guiding the ship as Jimmy Butler does. They were still probably going to lose that game, whether they brought their guys in or not. I'm glad they brought their guys in, though. And with 4 or 5 minutes left, kind of going back here, they could afford, if it were to happen that way, they could have afforded to win this game. You've got 12 more games left on the schedule if you're the Raptors. There's going to be plenty of time to perform losing shenanigans. This game, it was really, maybe one of the last bits of real competition we're going to see all season long. The Warriors are probably the best Raptors remaining opponent. They play the Pistons in early April. Other than that, it is dumpster fire teams. And so take advantage of the work while it's there, right? Take advantage of the chance to play some serious basketball against a team that's playing really good ball on their end. Test your mettle a little bit, see what your best guys can do, and, just kind of live with the results. Obviously, the loss is helpful for things, and they still maintain a 5-win cushion, that is, over the Spurs and the Heat, who both have 29 wins. I could not be more thrilled that we got to see the Raptors actually kind of ditch the full-on shameless benching of their best players down the stretch for this one. It's look, I'm all right with this sort of game-to-game approach, right? I think Darko Rajakovic has talked about this. They're going to just kind of take it game by game and figure out their strategy on the fly. I know that's made some people upset because they're not fully committing to losing all they possibly can. My pushback against that has been they can do all they want to try to lose as much as they possibly can and still win a lot of these games because the opponents they play are that bad. I thought it was a great call in this game to kind of mix up the approach. 6 weeks is a long time to just go 100% full committal to shamelessness mode. Having a couple games here and there where you actually try to play real basketball when the opportunity presents itself, these rare fleeting moments where you get to play a real team, playing real basketball, playing a full rotation of good NBA players that's in good form. I thought this was a really useful game for the Raptors. And look, we got to see a lot of good stuff out of the Raptors in this one too, right? They kind of tapped into some stuff that I think can be something you foreshadow towards next season when the team is playing serious basketball, hopefully every single night. I mean, the Immanuel Quickley-Jakob Poeltl pick and roll was instant buckets in this game. Those two guys, great connection, all kinds of different pick and rolls too, just sort of standard middle of the floor, not a ton of, kind of going all outside the box or anything like that. Just, straight pocket passes, stuff like that. And then there was also, some really impressive stuff where, Quickley gets trapped near the half court line, splits the double, finds Poeltl around the 3-point line, and he just goes in and soars for a dunk, kind of using the space created by Quickley getting the double all the way, 40 feet away from the basket. I just thought Quickley in this game in particular, Poeltl obviously was fantastic the way he finished. He had some trouble defensively with Draymond Green, which, that's another sort of fun part of this game was there were like adjustments and coaching maneuvers. Man, oh man, what a beautiful thing seeing coaching maneuvers on display in a Raptors basketball game after weeks of what has just kind of felt like coasting and just sort of doing their own thing while their opponent does their own thing and not really kind of responding or adapting at all just because they're going through the motions. It was great and refreshing to see actual strategy on display. This is the stuff I like, man. I like watching cool, fun, interesting chess back and forth, chess move basketball. We saw that a little bit in this one. It was a great reprieve from what we've seen of late. Back to IQ. I thought Quickley was awesome in this game. Of course, he finishes 21 points, 4 boards, 8 assists, 3 steals. His defense has been very good. I've been thoroughly impressed with what he's done at the point of attack. Hawkins steals, obviously, a couple of nice, hustle plays here and there, good rotations as well. There have been some moments where he's kind of been the low man in the defense and slid over beautifully, gotten huge to ward off drives. I've been pretty impressed overall. I think, kind of clear net positive defender has Quickley been over the last little bit here. That was, very much on display in this one, but the offensive stuff from him, he's just kind of doing the thing as a lead guard. He's scoring, getting to his own 3-7 from downtown, on and off ball threes created in this one. On the ball, his 2-point shooting continues to tick on up. He's at, he shot 5 of 10 in this game from 2, some big finishes at the rim over good defenders, a clutch time finish with the left hand driving in as well. The floater is very much, back in the mix for him as like a very valuable weapon. He's just been steadily bringing those percentages up in those key areas for him, right? The floater range and at the rim, he's not getting to the rim a million times a night or anything like that. But when he does, he's starting to make good on it. He's up to nearly 60% at the rim after starting, sub 50%. He's just been a steady climb over the last month or so for him. Same goes for his work from floater range, where that thing's really fallen for him right now. And he just looks the part of a guard who can organize and run pick and roll and run possessions and kind of have a concept of what the offense needs at a given time. I think earlier on in the season, when he was in that kind of stop and start mode, playing a few games here, missing a ton of time, playing a game again, missing a ton of time, I thought he had a hard time kind of figuring out what the offense needed from him in certain spots. But now he's finding that balance of when to look for his own and when to look for others. And, you need to look no further than Scottie Barnes, who we'll get into more. And the game he had in this one, brilliant stuff from him, 29, 10, and 6 on 11 of 16 shooting, absolutely punishing the Warriors at the rim and punishing the Warriors in situations where Immanuel Quickley is getting him the ball in a spot where he can go and sort of take advantage of the situation he's in, take advantage of the context of the defense after Quickley has made an initial move to break things down and start an advantage. It's great. Again, we'll get more into Scottie Barnes coming up later, but I think Quickley, he's he's getting better and better as he goes along. The pick and roll numbers have been very solid. He's in the 80th percentile nearly in terms of just scoring as a pick and roll ball handler before you factor in the playmaking stuff. I was hoping to get a little synergy update from a pal who has synergy on the overall impact with him and his playmaking and pick and roll. We'll get into that next week, I'm sure, as this continues to be a recurring trend. Quickley's just good. And this version of Quickley, who again is like a 22, 5 and 7 guy per 36 minutes on pretty good efficiency, 100% worth the contract, has a chance to outplay the contract if he's going to keep this up over the course of a full season. The contract stays stagnant, $32.5 million a year as the baseline salary going forward. That's going to age very well if this is the Quickley the Raptors are getting. And again, this is not just March basketball creating good Quickley production. He was good before March kicked in. He's carried it over into March, sure, And the game against the Warriors is probably as close to real basketball as you're going to get for the rest of the year. And he was awesome. And so, yeah, again, just glad they gave their main guys the run in this one. More than 30 minutes for Scottie, more than 30 minutes for Quickley. This was the game to do it. If you're going to do it for the rest of the season, this and the Pistons game on April 4th. Beyond that, do what you got to do to get creative and lose games. I understand the incentive structure at play here, but there's also a need to play some real sort of functional, developmentally friendly basketball once in a while to keep things fresh. This one felt like they were throwing a bone to the guys that, like, hey, you guys played a really good game. The Warriors are a good team. We're not at risk of blowing this team off the floor if we keep you on the floor for the rest of the game. Go get them, guys. And hey, they lose by 3. They think the offense probably could have run a little bit more smoothly in crunch time. I think more so it was just hitting like very clear, easy looks they created. There was that wide open, Quickley 3 on the wing that, man, had that gone down, would have been super fun. That's going to go in a lot of the time for Immanuel Quickley. It didn't in this case. That's fine. Process-wise, I thought things were good. Again, you had big late buckets from Quickley and Scottie Barnes barreling to the rim. A lot to like here. Yes, they lose, but they're ethical again, baby. Will it last for long? Who's to say? Either way, we're going to come back and talk about Scottie Barnes more in depth, as I think what we saw in that game last night was the ideal deployment of Scottie Barnes. Looking forward to getting into that as we pick it up on the other side in just 1 second. Today's show is brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to take you and your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including AI, IT, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a big project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. And posting a job is super easy. It's free and simple. Within a day, multiple qualified candidates you're going to get to choose from are all going to be available to you, because that's where people are going now. It's a great place to go find good freelance talent. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork finds affordable, top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com. Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel, the #1 sports book in North America. And March Madness, baby, it's here. FanDuel is giving you a chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 in bonus bets to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's going to end up cutting down the nets. I probably should have, thrown some money down yesterday, because I did damn well in my bracket, not the Locked On Raptors listener bracket. I'm not doing so hot in that one, but in the one for real money with like family and friends, I'm 13 of 16 after day one. I picked all of McNeese State, Drake, and Arkansas to win their games as lower seeds. I could have had myself some scratch if I threw some money down on those teams winning yesterday. If you got a hunch on an upset pick and you want to throw some money down, FanDuel is the place to go. And again, $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. The app is very easy to use, of course, as well. You get paid instantly, no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get into the college hoops action all tournament long on both the men's and women's sides. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. Back at it here on your Friday edition of Locked On Raptors, sending you off into the weekend with a little toxic positivity Friday. As we usually do here on the show, we put up the blinders to all that is bad in Toronto Raptors basketball, or in this case, maybe a specific player's season, and talk about only the good stuff, the stuff that's bringing us hope and joy and optimism, etc., etc. And I want to take a second to talk about Scottie Barnes, who I think last night kind of laid out exactly the vision for how Scottie Barnes can and should be used on this team going forward. Obviously, this year has not gone exactly how you would have hoped if you, like me at the start of the year, thought, hey, this guy has a chance to be like a true offensive engine, a guy who, with his size and athleticism and playmaking chops, can be the hub of a good offense for a good team. And I think that's been dispelled this year, right? It's been a year of experimentation. There's been some stuff that has worked. The mid-range, obviously, for him has become this massive lockdown weapon that's very, very reliable. Saw it on like full display last night, that sort of 15 feet and in stuff. He's just excellent at. The touch is beautiful. The free throw line jumpers, all of this stuff. Really good from Scottie Barnes. I think overall, I mean, just like it's been a strange season for him, man. Like the stuff that's worked has been offset by stuff that's just really not worked, right? The pull-up shooting from above the break, the standstill, slow, stagnant creation from the top of the arc where he's not able to gain separation. The offense doesn't really get anywhere. He's putting up inefficient shots. Like it's been a really rough go for Scottie Barnes in a lot of facets this year. Again, there's been some stuff that's worked on offense, and I think that's been great to see. And defensively, we know he's made this gigantic leap, but I do think he can be the best player on a good defensive team, with proper support around him too. He's been really good on that, and the Raptors have been a very good defensive team when he's been on the floor. Their defensive uptick over the last couple months has been very notable and I think quite real. They're a try-hard team, and they have a guy in Scottie Barnes who's like a changer of worlds, an ender of worlds, a changer of games, whatever, at the back end. He's awesome in that regard. The offensive stuff, again, it's been a lot of experimentation, throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks. And my thinking here is he's too smart a player. The Raptors, I think, have too good a handle on how to optimize players. We've seen this with how they've, brought guys along like Ochai Agbaji or, I think RJ Barrett obviously is the biggest example of this. Like they seem to have a pretty good understanding of how to get the most out of the guys that they have on their team. And I just think the context of this season needs to be factored in heavily when you talk about Scottie Barnes' struggles. Yes, it's been his most inefficient season. He has not been very good at converting effectively from basically anywhere. The three-point shot has fallen off of an absolute cliff. That's not good, of course. But there's a lot of reasons for that. For the first half of the season, how much of the offense was, well, there's no Quickley. Scottie, just like do something, please. And okay, maybe you're going to lean into a bunch of pull-up threes that are not going to go in, and that's going to sour your overall numbers drastically. Like you live with that because it's a season where it was pretty low stakes. There weren't crazy high expectations. In fact, the expectation was probably to lose a lot of games. And so you try stuff out, you get in the lab, you throw stuff at the wall, you see what sticks. And then next season is going to be the time where, like Scottie is going to have to put some of the stuff to bed, right? The pull-up threes from above the break, not going to be a thing anymore. The self-creation, I think it's going to be more sort of in opportunistic spots as opposed to like the main crux of what he does on the offensive end. I think there's going to have to be more give for him as an off-ball player, as a guy who's willing to play as a role man and pick and roll. All of that stuff, though, is stuff that he's done, right? Like this is the thing I think that gets kind of misconstrued about Scottie Barnes, or it's this sort of perception that's out there. I think at his core, Scottie Barnes is a guy who wants to win and he wants to play unselfish basketball. He wants to play competitive basketball too. I think he's pretty unselfish at the core. I think he's been pretty unfairly branded as this guy who views himself as this one thing and is immobile and unadaptable and can't sort of change and is like, well, I simply must be a point guard with the ball in my hands all the time. I don't think that's actually been the story of Scottie Barnes' career. To me, that feels like almost some projection from the corners of the fan base who are still like dyed in the wool Scottie as a point guard people, which it's just wrong. Like, this is not what he is. He hasn't been that for years. What he has been over the course of his career is a chameleon. He's played every different position, context, style, role, whatever on offense you can think of. With Pascal Siakam, he had more of an off-ball role because Siakam was an excellent on-ball creator himself. And he got a ton of really good wide open threes that he banged at like a 38% clip with Siakam on the team last year. That was great. At other times, he's played more as a small ball five, a roller, a guy who, protects the rim and sort of fills in doing center things for the team. He's had some really nice moments doing that. Of course, he's had moments where he's been this sort of powerful, creative wing who can, attack closeouts and attack, sort of compromise defenses and really make teams pay. He's got the post-up game, the mid-range game. He's really tested it all out. I think next year, when the rubber really hits the road, Brandon Ingram's on the team. You hopefully get a full healthy season from Quickley. You've got Poeltl in the mix as well. Who knows? We'll see what else the rest of the roster looks like. But I do think you go into next year, and what we saw last night, what we've seen, frankly, from Scottie, a lot of his very best games this season. I think of the game early in February against Philly where he had 33 and 10 on 10 of 16 shooting, was super efficient. I think about the first game Quickley got back in the new year, the day after the blowout in Boston on New Year's Day, 33 points, 13 boards, 5 assists, 14 of 18 shooting, working largely off the ball. I think of, there were some other ones. I mean, the Golden State game last night, obviously a big example. There have been a handful of these games since Quickley got back in particular where they've kind of found the role for Scottie Barnes. And we saw this last night. I think the most sort of accurate encapsulation of this version of Scottie Barnes was the early second quarter stretch of the game last night. You got Immanuel Quickley, Scottie pick and roll, creating an easy rhythm free throw line jumper that goes in. IQ then drives in, hits Scottie on the wing. Scottie pump fakes, drives on Jimmy Butler, turns it into an improvised post up, turns around, hits the mid-ranger from 12 feet. Boom, great. There was another situation where, and this is the thing I would love to see Scottie do more, is punishing mismatches, right? If you can work sort of inverted pick and roll with Immanuel Quickley and get mismatches with like a Brandon Pajemski, like he got him on him last night and totally bullied him and scored, like that is a way where Scottie Barnes can be a creative force with the ball in his hands, and you can hunt switches and mismatches. This is what I think Nick Nurse did quite well with Scottie Barnes as a rookie, was they sought out mismatches and he punished them. And it was a big reason why he went on to win Rookie of the Year. Like, again, he can do a lot of things pretty well. 3-point shooting, maybe not so much, but there's a lot of other stuff that Scottie Barnes can do. And I think if the Raptors can put him into situations where he can get to the places where he can punish teams, 12 feet and in, 15 feet and in, attacking a closeout from the wing, that type of stuff. Like if they can put him in context where he can get to those spots without having to himself dribble to those spots, you're going to weaponize and unlock a way more efficient version of Scottie Barnes. I would put money right now on next season being Scottie Barnes' most efficient season as a pro. I just think it's going to work that way as he's matured as a basketball player. Quickley is here now, and he's clearly doing the lead guard thing quite well. And you bring in Brandon Ingram, who's going to take on some of that offensive burden, take on some of the shouldering of the load, and also himself draw a ton of attention to free things up for Scottie Barnes, creeping baseline as a cutter or working from the 45 as a slasher. Like there's a lot of ways in which Scottie Barnes can benefit from just having a lot of guys on the floor who can draw extra help and attention. We've seen it in little flashes here, even through March, but in that game against the Warriors last night, this stretch in that second quarter, again, there was, that kind of capped off with another Immanuel Quickley, Scottie Barnes pick and roll leading to another Scottie midi at the free throw line. Like these are all shots Scottie Barnes can hit. These are all positions that Scottie Barnes can be successful from. And if you can set him up to get the ball in a place where the advantage has already been sort of laid out for him to go and attack, that's a really dangerous basketball player. He's a guy who's got to live at the rim more, obviously. He's been a way higher rim frequency player in previous years than he's been this year. We saw last night what Scottie Barnes living at the rim can be. And I know I sound like the optimistic, oh, Scottie's my guy, blah, blah, blah. Like, I've never even been like the biggest over the top, like Scottie Barnes is going to be a superstar kind of believer. I just think he's a damn good basketball player who does a lot of things really well. And context for him is going to be incredibly important. You put shooting around him, great. That's an awesome thing. You put extra offensive creation around him, fantastic. You put like one good rim protector next to him, and he's unlocked as this incredible defensive difference maker. I think context is everything in basketball. I think it gets underrated when we talk about most players, but in particular, I think Scottie Barnes this season within this strange context that's been injuries and trying to lose and all of this stuff. And clearly Scottie being emboldened to try some stuff out that might not be part of his package going forward. I think the assumption that he can't be amenable to a different type of role, I think is pretty silly. I think the idea that this 23-year-old guy who, again, has had plenty of instances of, wanting to be an unselfish player, of wanting to play connected team basketball, like he's at his best when the team is playing with verve and connectivity and unity on the floor. This has always been true. I mean, there are still the stories going back to when he was drafted, right? Playing at Florida State when he was asked, I believe the anecdote is, Leonard Hamilton, the head coach at Florida State. This might've been in high school. I think it was in college though, where, a coach of his was like, you got to go and score yourself 25 points in this game. And he said, do assists count? Like this is what Scottie Barnes is. He's wired to be a team player. And I think the context in which the team has been playing this year has not really brought that out of him all that well. I think defensively it certainly has. And I think, if you kind of just are around the team and you talk to people around the team, you just sort of pick up the vibe around the team. He's clearly made steps forward as like a leader, as someone who's kind of positively impacting the room, etc. The vibe's been pretty damn good all season long. Scottie Barnes is the most important player on the team. He's clearly got something to do with all of that. If your most important player is sulking and not being a good leader, that's going to seep into the rest of the team. That's not been the case with the team this year. And I just think that a Scottie Barnes in a lessened offensive role in terms of the burden of self-creation, but having others create for him, but put him in spots where he can go and burn teams in the ways that we know that he can. I think he's in line for a big year next year. And I think this game against the Warriors was just a nice little glimpse into what year 5 can look like for Scottie Barnes if everything falls into place fit-wise and health-wise, et cetera, et cetera. We'll come back on the other side. We'll get into the good, the bad, and the to round out the show, as we always do. Stuff I liked, stuff I didn't like, stuff that's got me a little intrigued, including for the 50th time, Jonathan Mogbo did some stuff that made me go, wee! Today's show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy, a new sponsor here on the show. Daylight savings snuck up on us again. If you're feeling that lost hour of sleep still, 5 Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power you through. Whether you're staying up late to watch the NCAA tournament, like I was last night, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. I haven't had 5 Hour Energy in a minute, but I did used to be a pretty heavy user back when I was in college, and I was, kind of trying to stay up, do study sessions, write essays, et cetera, et cetera. I found it to be way preferable to like the gigantic can of energy drink that just makes me feel like death. Just a quick little shot. It feels good. You get back in your day. You barely even notice. It's just like you kind of have this sort of general sense of being perked up. Always a big fan of the way the 5 Hour Energies made me feel. Didn't make me feel insane either. That's the biggest thing. Usually when I have like a caffeine boost, I'm worried about it making me feel crazy. Was never the case with 5 Hour Energy. It was always just a nice perk, just what I needed. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own pack, 12-pack or 24-pack, delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Wrapping things up here with the good, the bad, and the It's the way we wrap up every single episode of this here podcast on the heels of a Toronto Raptors basketball game. A thing I liked, a thing I didn't like, and this got me a little bit intrigued from the latest in Toronto Raptors hoops. Most recently, a 117-114 loss to the Golden State Warriors. The good for me, give me some love for the rookies, man. Jamal Shead Jamison Battle. Shead closed this game, hit a big 3 late. Also got blocked on a big late attempt, but I love the juice with which Jamal Shead is constantly in drive mode at all times. He cooks guys off the bounce. He has genuine rim pressure. I love it. Also, an absolute hammer once again from Jamal Shead, who now owns like 2 of the 5 best dunks by a Raptor this season. You'll love to see that as well. And I thought Jamison Battle in this one, he got a little bit of run in the fourth quarter too. Didn't quite close. They brought in Ochai Agbaji for him late, but just the breadth that he brings to the offense for the team with the 3-point shooting, man. Like, you can't help off of this guy. The Warriors learned that the hard way a couple times in this one, where they're, his guy just kind of pinched in, tried to help near the rim. It gets kicked out, and Jamison Battle is so shot ready. And there were a couple of shots here that kind of hit him high in the shooting pocket, and it just felt like there was no movement whatsoever. It was just catch and just release as it comes. Beautiful with that lefty stroke. Rookies in this one. Very good. And we'll get into Jonathan Mogbo in a little bit too. But I liked, the heavy run these guys got in this game. 33 minutes for Battle. You love to see that. 4 of 10 from downtown. Jamal Shead plays 27 minutes. I wrote about this a little bit yesterday in the newsletter. I want to see more Jamal Shead. I feel like, it's almost like he's too helpful or something, or the team thinks he's too helpful. So they've kind of limited his minutes. He hasn't played over 30 minutes since February the 5th, which, considering the lineups they've been rolling out, is a little surprising. I'd like to see that tick up. And hey, very good from him last night. Again, 27 minutes, 11 points, 4 boards, 6 assists, 4 of 7, 2 of 3 from downtown, including that banker at the end to make it, I think it was 116, 114 with a couple seconds left to go. They don't pull it out, obviously. But yeah, loved it from the rookies in this one. And give me more. 60 minutes combined between Shead and Battle. You love that. And Mogbo we'll talk about coming up in a second here as well. The bad for me in this game, and it's not to do with the Raptors because there's not a whole lot of bad to really pull from in this one. That Steph Curry back injury made me squirm in my chair. Unfortunate the way it happened. Mogbo probably could have been a little bit more controlled as he made that contest, but that's mostly just a couple of guys colliding in a basketball play. It sucks. As a man in my 30s who feels pain after playing pickup for 90 minutes, that it genuinely made me uncomfortable sitting in my chair to watch Curry kind of squirm on the floor after hitting the deck. Glad he was able to walk off under his own power. And it would just be an absolute shame if that derails the Warriors season that they're putting together here. It's been so cool to see how Jimmy Butler's fit in. I know there's a lot of Warriors fatigue. I know there's a lot of Draymond Green fatigue. I know there's a lot of Jimmy Butler fatigue, but I just can't quit the sort of multi-time champion dynastic team kind of hanging on for dear life. I thought the 2022 championship was just so damn cool and poetic and satisfying for a team, that kind of, they're the Kevin Durant merchants. No, they can do it on their damn selves too. And it was great. It was awesome. They beat the Celtics, which was even better. I don't think they're going to win the West this year. I think the Thunder are too good. I think the Nuggets are probably too good as well. I know there's a lot of Nuggets skepticism out there. I'm never doubting the big guy, frankly, but I think they're probably the third most dangerous team in the Western Conference if I had to pick today. And that's great. I really hope it keeps up because with Jimmy Butler in there, kind of a bunch of old heads and a couple of guys with borderline psychosis sharing a floor together, while Curry does Curry things, it's damn fun to watch. It's still must-see TV to see Steph Curry kind of doing the Steph Curry thing. Really hope that back injury doesn't do what back injuries do to many guys in their mid-30s, and hopefully he's back and spry and looking good soon because the Warriors have been damn fun. And I still think they'll hold serve just fine without Steph because Jimmy Butler is a monster and they have 10 good NBA players on their team right now. But it's I really hope he's all right because that would be sucky if his season got derailed at the hands of a Toronto Raptors bad contest at the rim. For me, the guy who made that contest, who also did a lot of other fun stuff in this game, was Jonathan Mogbo, who, again, I think it's the 50th time I've said Jonathan Mogbo is the because he just does things that are wildly interesting to me all the time when you think about them sort of down the line a couple years from now as things refine for him. Not a huge stats night. He starts, but only gets 4 points on the board, or 5 points, that is, 5 boards, 4 assists. He was a +1 in his minutes, 2 of 5 overall. I just thought there were a couple sequences in this game. Again, the 4 assists, the little interactions he has with Scottie Barnes and Jakob Poeltl, 3 guys who are non-shooters who just kind of make it work because they're damn good passers and movers. I'm into it big time. If anyone who listens to this show and has for a long time knows I'm a little sicko for interior passing, and watching Jonathan Mogbo drive baseline on a cut, get a pass from Scottie Barnes and a no look, then hit Jakob Poeltl screaming down the lane for a dunk. Hell yeah, man. That's the type of stuff I watch basketball for, frankly. Give me cool passing sequences between dudes who are cool passers, and I am all the way in. And then he also had a moment where he was guarding Steph Curry and just totally danced with him in space, and I believe forced a miss. I think he might have fouled him at the end. Either way, there was a stretch where he kind of danced 30 feet from the basket with Steph Curry and stayed in lockstep for basically an entire possession. That's super cool. And again, speaks to the immense defensive upside for Jonathan Mogbo. The defense is so crazy with him, with the arms and the speed and the footwork. The offense does not have to be great, and the passing alone makes him somewhat viable. Obviously, he's got to finish around the rim better, all of that stuff. But another super intriguing game from Jonathan Mogbo. Glad he's back in the mix after missing that time with the face injury, and wasn't so good against the Suns in his first game back. Much better outing for him in this one, despite the sort of muted stat line. Thought there was some really good process stuff from Mogbo in this game. We're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out, rocking with the show. We'll be back again on Monday as we continue the push towards the end of the season. I'm sure we'll have some March Madness takes next week, as well as, more prospects become maybe declaring themselves for the draft, things like that. And obviously, you're playing big games. We'll get to react to some of those. I might have a moment where I talk about Vlad Golden of Michigan, who second round pick, backup big man of the future, just maybe. This is what March Madness is about, baby. It's about finding your guys. Either way, thank you so much for rocking with the show. Follow, subscribe, rate, review. Check out the newsletter, QR code on the screen if you want to go and subscribe. Again, 100% free. You can go to the Discord, link in the description of the podcast as well. And thank you, as always, for rocking with us and sticking through another week of this here weird-ass Raptors season. A fun one, though. Glad we got a fun one. Glad we got some interesting tactical basketball to sink our teeth into on this one. I feel alive again, baby. Have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for hanging. Bye-bye.